Some of the original parts of Woman in Love were written in the bathtub upstairs because my father was in the bathtub, and he called up Barry afterwards, and they went over some of the notes. It's just funny to walk into that same room and think Woman in Love was written right there.
Yeah. You know what I do love about Smooth is we deal with smooth icons, and I'm sitting in front of an icon right now. RJ Gibb. How you're looking around? Look, let's just get straight to the business. With a surname like Gibb, you've got to be connected to the brothers Gibb, the Bee Gees. Let's talk about your career first. Obviously, we're going to touch on your uncles and your father as well. With a surname like Gibb, being talented, being gifted, did the name Gibb help you? Let's just get straight to the point.
It was a great thing to grow up. It's not like being in his shadow. Who better than to learn from the Bee Gees?
Absolutely. Because even as a young man, gifted and talented, let's not beat around the bush, the chances are you are going to have a career in the arts anyway. But the level of respect was probably shifted because of your father and your uncles.
He, brought me to the studio, exposed me to the music, and I started, playing violin, and then after that, went on to many different instruments, but eventually just settled, for composition, keyboards, and guitar. So,
let's talk about your single.
Okay.
Let It Be You. Tell me about the energy, the passion behind that. Where does it come from? Where does the title come from? Talk me through that song.
I've experienced, personal loss as far as not just love, but actually losing people that I love. And I thought, I wanted to frame it in a way that it also sort of, touched many people who have experienced that, and maybe even people who wanted some sort of hope, or so they wanted to rekindle something that was lost. I hope I accomplished that through the video, so that it can. I kind of left it open ended, so as not to be too specific about. But it was based on things that had happened to me. It's quite a personal song.
Okay. You've got an album in the works with some of your own material, your own authentic material, but there's also some collaborations in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's some unreleased material that my father and I had worked on together. It could be an album, it could be sort of EPs that are released, but eventually there will be a compilation of all the releases. So, but I've got 2 releases coming out soon. One is called Empty Cup, and the other one, another one's called God Broke the Mold, and the third one is Sunshine City, which is why we're heading to Miami in June to film the music video.
Obviously, being Robin's son, were there ever times when you wanted to sing with your father and uncles on the stage?
I think that was definitely, something that I was not only open to, but something I would definitely have wanted to do, yeah.
Do you have a favourite Bee Gees song, if you can pick one? I always start by saying, how can you mend a broken heart? And then I go, no, it's Jive Talking. Then I go, no, it's... And this list of songs, because the catalogue's so vast.
Yeah, there's a less mainstream, like 1st of May, some more of the ballad tracks. But then, of course, I'm a sucker for funk as well. So.
I've always said the Bee Gees were our blue-eyed soul boys. I could never imagine that somebody said, right, here's some notes, here's some instruments, do it. Something came from inside. They just had it. And Saturday Night Fever, in my opinion, displayed that. That album dominated the charts worldwide. It was just an amazing album. And it was an amazing film as well. And when you think how they connected, like with John Travolta, it was an album that I think turned the dial for disco, even though in the States it was a little bit of a, they had their issues there, but it turned the dial for soul, it turned the dial for blue-eyed soul, it turned the dial for disco, for funk. Yeah. It was a great album.
I mean, some people who say, do you think disco was a kind of a plastic time, or, it was one of those sort of gimmicks? I say, look around you, look at house music, EDM, none of it would be what it is today
without disco. And I do think as well that it wasn't the Bee Gees that, dare I say, watered down disco. I think they actually took it to the height. It was the gimmick tunes, remember like Disco Duck and all that. That's what watered it down. That's what spoilt it.
Yeah, even some of the stuff they did at that time, like for Al Green, like you said.
How Can You Mend a Broken Heart?
How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? Yeah, I mean, not even just the disco era stuff, but the sort of the Motown collaborations and stuff they did with Quincy.
They were priceless collaborations, and I always say there are some songs that should never be copied.
Yeah.
Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
And I do think that your father and your uncles come into that category. Just leave those Bee Gees songs alone. There was a really lovely track that they did with Celine Dion, Immortality.
Yes.
Touches me every time. And it's your uncles and your brothers' voices together with Celine, who once again sings from a different part of her soul, as your family did. So that collaboration together, that was priceless singing.
A great singer, a great person, great performer.
And then Uncle Barry with Barbra Streisand on the Guilty album. That crossed so many genres of music, didn't it? I mean, it was in the pop charts. It was also in the soul charts. It was one of those tracks when I was going out, when that came on, you grabbed the nearest man. I mean, that was such a great song.
Some of the original parts of Woman in Love were written in the bathtub upstairs, because my father was in the bathtub and he called up Barry afterwards, and they went over some of the notes, and it's just funny to walk into that that same room and think Woman in Love was written right there.
Yeah. You must have seen quite a lot of that then, RJ. Songs that came up maybe, I don't know, around the dinner table, at family barbecues, and just something would happen and maybe dad or uncle would go, hang on a minute, that's a good hook for a song.
Yeah, no, I mean, my father was in a twin prop aircraft over Germany, and they were going to another gig, and in the white noise or the brown noise, the drone of the engine, you could hear, dee doo doo dee doo dee doo dee doo, and so he took the ticket and he started penning down some lyrics, and I still have the ticket. It's the first lyrics to "I Started a Joke."
Whoa!
So yeah, these are sort of iconic moments that. I mean, these are the sorts of things that should be in the biopic, really.
Are you kind of making sure that there are the very rich family anecdotal experiences that are in there, things that maybe we haven't seen in the film How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, of which I have a copy? I loved that that's DVD. It showed little things like the hook for Staying Alive. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone had to leave the studio, so that was just looped, and that just went on, and know.
Well, Blue Weaver and Albee, they had to figure out a way to splice the reels together, and they effectively made the first drum loop in history by draping it over the mic stands and just through like 3 different machines, just looping it so that they could, properly compose the track. Another thing was Blue was hooked up to, they had this heart, like an EKG from a local doctor, and they used it to get Blue's heartbeat. And of course, that was the first. They were trying to, because they wanted to use a heartbeat for Staying Alive.
Okay.
Of course, now it's used for Resus for that very reason. So it's. But the first people to hear any of those, well, the first creatures, I think, to hear any of those songs were the cows in the field outside, because it was in France, in the south of France, in a small chateau. So yeah, it was just like a sort of 2-week getaway. They just went there and just hammered out almost all the tracks you hear on Saturday Night Fever.
What would you like us to get from the biopic that we don't know about your father and uncles?
I think some of those iconic moments. My father used to say, we've sung in some of the best toilets in Australia, because they used to go into toilets and they'd use the resonance to harmonize. And they were running to the Gaumont to perform a lip sync, and Morris tripped and dropped the disc, the LP that they were going to use for the lip sync. Like, what do we do? We've got to sing now. So they went on and they actually sang live, and it was it was their first live performance, and that's why they were trying to save the Gaumont in Manchester recently, because it's basically because of that moment. And
Right.
But yeah, and all of these sort of things should be in there, definitely.
Definitely. Now, Maurice and your father were twins. Barry obviously was the elder. Andy looked very much like Barry, in my opinion, and it wasn't just the hair. Andy kind of had this connection with Barry, in my opinion, that Maurice and your dad had.
Yeah, at different stages they had different, like I was very close to Andy when I was only 6, but and I knew something was wrong at the time because he kept watching Watership Down with me every single night, same film, and I was like, do you think we can watch something different tonight? Okay, so yeah.
Look, at least you could laugh about it.
But it was a great, it's a great film, and of course he used to sing Bright Eyes to me. I was only 6. I still miss the guy.
When do you see this biopic coming out? When's the anticipated release date?
Well, I think hopefully it's September. They're looking to start something rolling.
And let's talk about your touring now. Where can I come and see you doing your thing?
Well, we're planning touring for festivals and other venues in the UK, the US. We may do some stuff in Southeast Asia and just specialty tours, and so because there's a big fan base out there as well. So yeah, I think. I'll let you. You'll be the first to know.
I hope so. I hope so. And in the same way that the Jacksons do some of Michael's material, are you going to be doing some of your father and your uncle's material?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a stage musical to bring called Another Lonely Night in New York, which is using all my father's solo works. Well, from the How Old Are You album and the Secret Agent album. So it's sort of 80s dance themed musical. And, yeah.
Well, RJ, we look forward to hearing a lot more from you. Looking forward to seeing you doing your thing on stage. And it's your responsibility now to keep the Bee Gees' legacy alive. That's a lot on your shoulders.
Absolutely.
But what a lovely job to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. RJ Gibb, it was really nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Thank you.